Imagine never brushing your teeth, never taking a shower, never washing your hands, your clothes, or anything you eat. Now imagine living your entire life like that, surrounded by smoke, blood, bugs, and rot. That was daily life for ancient humans. Not the heroic hunts and the campfire stories, the part that smelled. Their world was a non-stop war against filth, parasites, and their own decaying bodies, fought with no soap, no medicine, and no idea what a germ even was. It's gross, it's fascinating, and it makes your worst day look spotless. These are the 10 most disgusting things ancient humans did every single day. And number 1 shows that their own bodies were a daily battlefield. Let's start with number 10. Number 10. Smelling like smoke, sweat, blood, and animals. Take a deep breath and imagine the smell of an ancient human. It was overwhelming and it never went away. Their bodies carried the stench of constant campfire smoke soaked into skin and hair, layers of dried sweat with no way to properly wash it off, the blood and grease of butchered animals, and the deep, musky smell of the animal hides they wore every single day. There was no deodorant, no perfume, no daily shower to reset it. This smell was simply the background of human existence, and everyone shared it, so no one really noticed. To your modern nose, walking into an ancient camp would be staggering. To them, it was just the smell of being alive, a permanent cloud of smoke, sweat, and survival. Number 9. Going to the bathroom with no bathroom. Here's something we never think about. Ancient humans had no toilets, no plumbing, and absolutely no toilet paper. They relieved themselves out in the open, using whatever nature provided to clean up: leaves, moss, grass, water, or a smooth stone. In settled camps, human waste could pile up nearby, attracting flies and spreading disease if the group didn't move or manage it. This was more than just unpleasant. Waste near a living area was a serious health hazard, contaminating water and food and spreading sickness through the group. Some groups instinctively learned to keep waste away from camp and water, an early, crude form of sanitation. But there was no clean, private, comfortable option. The most basic daily act was a raw, exposed part of survival. Number 8. Cleaning the body with sand, water, and scraping. Ancient humans weren't all filthy all the time. They did try to clean themselves. They just had almost nothing to do it with. There was no soap. So they used what nature offered. They rinsed in cold rivers and streams when they could. They scrubbed their skin with sand, ash, and rough leaves. Some scraped the dirt, sweat, and dead skin off their bodies with sticks or smooth stones, dragging the grime away by force. It was better than nothing, but it couldn't come close to real cleanliness. Cold water and sand can only do so much against layers of grease, smoke, and sweat. Cleaning the body was a constant, exhausting effort with weak tools, a losing battle against a world that coated them in filth every single day. Number 7. Eating with filthy hands and dirty tools. Every meal was a gamble with invisible enemies. Ancient humans ate with hands that were rarely, if ever, truly clean. The same hands that butchered animals, dug in the dirt, handled hides, and touched everything else went straight into their food. Their tools, the stones and bones they used to cut and prepare meals, carried old residue and bacteria. The concept of washing up before eating simply didn't exist, because no one knew invisible germs were there. This meant constantly swallowing bacteria and parasites with every bite. Stomach illness and food poisoning were a regular part of life. Their bodies were under constant low-level attack from the very food that kept them alive. Eating wasn't just nourishment, it was a daily dose of whatever their dirty hands and tools happened to be carrying. Number 6. Sleeping surrounded by bugs, parasites, and animals. The night brought no clean escape. Ancient humans slept in a world crawling with tiny, unwelcome company. They bedded down on the ground on animal furs and grass that became a paradise for insects, fleas, and mites. Animals, both wild pests and early domesticated ones, lived close by, dragging in their own parasites. As people slept, bugs crawled and fed on them through the night. This constant closeness to insects and animals was a highway for disease and infestation. Bites, itching, and parasites were just part of sleeping. There was no clean bed, no sealed room, no way to keep the crawling things out. Every night, the human body was a warm, still target for whatever lived in the ground and the furs beneath them. Number 5. Living with lice, fleas, and worms every day. Parasites weren't an occasional problem for ancient humans, they were permanent roommates that never moved out. Lice lived in their hair and crawled across their scalps. Fleas jumped from animals and bit their skin raw. And worms and other parasites set up home inside their intestines, stealing nutrients from the little food they had. This was normal. Nearly everyone carried some kind of parasite all the time. They picked lice and bugs off each other in a grooming ritual we share with our primate cousins, but they could never truly win. The parasites were relentless. This constant infestation drained their energy, spread disease, and made itching and discomfort a permanent feature of being alive. Their bodies were shared territory, hosting an entire ecosystem of things feeding off them. Number 4. Wearing clothes that never got clean. Ancient clothing was a miracle of survival and a nightmare of hygiene at the same time. They wore animal hides and furs that kept them warm and alive in brutal cold. But those same clothes were almost never truly cleaned. They soaked up sweat, blood, smoke, dirt, and grease and held onto it. They became homes for fleas, lice, and mites, worn day after day against the skin. There was no laundry, no washing machine, no way to fully strip out the filth. A set of clothing might be worn constantly for a very long time, growing filthier and more infested by the day. The very thing protecting them from the cold was also a stinking, crawling second skin, a trade-off between freezing to death and living inside your own dirt. Number 3. Dealing with teeth and no dentist. Ancient humans had no toothbrushes, no toothpaste, and absolutely no dentists. When something went wrong in their mouth, there was almost nothing they could do. Their teeth were often ground down badly by tough, gritty food and sand that got into everything they ate. This wear, along with infections, caused serious pain. Some chewed on sticks or fibrous plants to scrape their teeth, a crude early toothbrush, but there was no filling a cavity or fixing a rotting tooth. And a bad tooth wasn't just painful. A serious tooth infection could spread into the blood and actually kill you. Dental agony was a common, untreatable part of life, endured with no relief. The simple mouth problems we fix in an afternoon today were, back then, a source of constant suffering and even death. Number 2. Living with open wounds and infections. And this is where daily grossness turned genuinely deadly. In a world of sharp rocks, hard labor, and constant danger, cuts and wounds were unavoidable and dangerous. With no antiseptics, no bandages, and no antibiotics, even a small injury could become infected. A minor cut could swell, fill with pus, and turn into a life-threatening infection with no way to stop it. People often lived with untreated, oozing, open wounds because there was simply no cure. Their filthy environment made everything worse, packing dirt and bacteria straight into every injury. A wound that we'd clean and forget in a day could fester for weeks and end a life. Living with open, infected wounds wasn't rare. It was a constant, dangerous reality, and one of the deadliest parts of everyday ancient life. And number 1, the truth beneath all of it. The ancient body was a daily battlefield. Because when you put it all together, this is what it really was. A non-stop war fought inside and on top of their own bodies every single day. Think about the enemies. Dirt they couldn't wash off. Parasites feeding on them inside and out. Bacteria in their food, their wounds, and their mouths. Infections with no cure. Smoke, blood, and filth soaked into everything they wore and touched. Their bodies were under siege from the moment they woke until the moment they slept. And here's the real payoff. Modern hygiene isn't a luxury. It's one of the biggest differences between their world and ours. Soap, clean water, dentists, and medicine didn't just make us more comfortable. They ended a daily war humans had been losing for hundreds of thousands of years. You don't just live cleaner than your ancestors. You live in a completely different reality, one where your own body finally stopped being a battlefield. So the next time you brush your teeth, wash your hands, or take a hot shower without even thinking about it, stop for a second and appreciate it. You are doing something almost no human in history ever got to do. Ancient humans fought filth, parasites, and infection every single day, and mostly they just endured it. The clean, comfortable body you take for granted is one of the greatest gifts of the modern world. If this grossed you out in the best way, you're going to love the rest of this series, where we keep digging into the brutal, bizarre, and disgusting truth of how ancient humans really lived. Tap the screen and let's keep going.